It is a great privilege to have you here tonight. And as a chief curator here at William Humphreys Art Gallery, today marks the first anniversary since I took up this. What a wonderful way to celebrate this first anniversary. And I am very happy that the community here accepted me, embraced me as their son. And that is something that is very important to me. Tonight, our director is not here because she's not feeling well. And on behalf of her and the management and the entire team here at William Humphreys Art Gallery, we would like to welcome you all. And this exhibition that we are launching today, that is Aluta Continua. It's a very significant exhibition for us as William Humphreys Art Gallery and for this community of Kimberley. I would like to briefly indicate why it is important and why we grabbed the opportunity to have it here. The first time I interacted with this body of work, and of course, as much as it is about 14 years ago, I understand the collection has been growing and evolving over the years. So the first time I went to the Concord, I was at Art College in 2009 as an art student. I remember walking the corridors and the foyer of the Concord in Johannesburg with absolute embarrassment, absolute amusement. And I realized how privileged I was to be among those students who went there to interact with that exhibition. But important to that, I saw the work, the collection representing a lot of artists, black and white, across gender, across religious spectrum, political spectrum, and I told myself that day that my work belongs in that court, which is the seat of the highest court on the land. And I never allowed that goal or that dream to run away from me. I chased it until 8 years later, my work found a way into the Constitutional Court of South Africa. The work that is now in the permanent collection of the Concord Art Trust was on Marikana. So, which sort of launched my career as an artist. Marikana tragedy, or Marikana massacre to be specific, helped me to be a launch pad to my art career professionally so. Because I had dedicated the first 3 solo exhibitions in 3 consecutive years towards talking about the injustices that happened at the during the Marikana massacre. So the works that the Concord has of mine is of Marikana and on Marikana. Unfortunately, it's not here. It's not part of the show. But next time you're in Johannesburg, make a turn at the Concord and appreciate our works And the inspiring thing about the exhibition that is here, which I'm not gonna talk too much about it because Catherine and Justice will be talking on or about or of, is that it has artists across generations, which is very significant. And it ties very well with the exhibition that we launched 2 weeks ago on Thursday, which is called Artists Across Generations, 3 Decades of Democracy. So this exhibition ties very well with what we launched 2 weeks ago. And in that exhibition, we launched a double bill, which was 2 important exhibitions opening at the same night. The other exhibition was called, and it's called, because it's still up, it is called Artist in Residency's Interpretation of William Humphreys Art Collection, wherein we introduced inaugural art writer in residency earlier this year to have young voices come, interact, interpret the collection that we have here. And I saw one of our resident writer, Kumo, who's here, who's one of the art writers in residence. And the work that they have done is just beautiful. So without any waste of time, I would like to call up here on stage Catherine Kennedy to come and say a few words and introduce. She'll come back and introduce our speaker. So she will just give us directives. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Chipape. I'm not going to capture you with such a wonderful opening as Chipape did. I apologize for that. It forced me to say thank you so much for coming out in your numbers tonight. As the manager of the Constitutional Court Trust, we are the custodians who care for the Constitutional Art Collection on behalf of the Constitutional Court. It is so exciting to be here with you at this inaugural almost moment for us. This has been a dream of ours for a few years as a team. This is the second time only that we have taken the art collection out of its home in Johannesburg. The first time was just over a month ago when we took it to the National Arts Festival. And this is very much the start of the next 3 years for us, looking at how we can use this incredible art collection in order to commemorate 30 years of democracy and reflect on that. Next year it's going to be 30 years since this art collection began, and the year after that, of course, it's going to be 30 years of the Constitution. So for us to be able to create access and bring this public democratic collection to other places in South Africa is incredibly exciting for us. I just wish I could pop the Concord building into my pocket and have brought it to this exhibition, because it is a work of art in and of itself, and it's fascinating for us to see, taking it to Makhanda and now bringing it to Kimberley, to see how new conversations will emerge as this collection reaches beyond its home at the court. So we're really pleased to see you here. The idea of bringing it to Kimberley goes back to 2021, when we were just cooking up this idea that we wanted to start traveling it for 30 years. And I was on the phone to Justice Albie Sachs. And of course, she had retired to Kimberley, and we had been visiting her, a member of our team, and I was saying, keen to travel the collection. She said, bring it home. And we cooked up this idea that 2024 would be the year for it. William Humphreys would be the perfect place to bring it, and Women's Night would be the amazing time to launch it, and she was going to be our host. joy that we have fulfilled her wish in bringing it to Kimberley, and we are here to remember her and to honor her as we launch into Women's Month in such a critical year for this country. So I'm very, very grateful to be welcoming the Makhanda family and friends here tonight. I'm so glad that you're able to be here with us, and also to extend a special welcome to members of the Northern Cape Judiciary, because this collection is bound up with the legal story in South Africa and the constitutional story in South Africa. So it's wonderful to have representatives of the judiciary here with us tonight. As a way to represent Justice Makhanda tonight, we have been very, very lucky to be given permission to film a short documentary that an American filmmaker, Marianne Braba, has made about the collection, and she did an incredible interview last year at the Constitutional Court with Justice Makhanda. So she has given us permission to screen it for the first time ever here tonight, which I think is only fitting. So I don't want to preempt too much, so I'm going to let first the film and then our very special guest speaker engage with the collection. It just falls to me to acknowledge that we have had incredible support in enabling us to come here from various funders, from the Dutch Embassy, from the French Institute, from the Mellon Foundation, from the Ford Foundation, from the amazing William Humphreys Art Gallery teams who have worked themselves to the bones over the last few days installing this exhibition for you, and to the curatorial team who have traveled from Johannesburg. So my colleague Francois, the curator of public engagement, my colleague Baklukwana, curator, and our two youth development interns, Shiva and Pena, of course, been working incredibly hard. It's going to be up for until the 7th of September. Correct me, Chipape, if I got that right. So please, we'd love to have you back here. And if you would like to have a guided curatorial walkabout of the exhibition, the curatorial team will be offering that to the public on Saturday morning, if you'd really like to hear some of the backstories behind the artworks and how this particular portion of the art collection, because this is about 10% of the art collection that is here today. Yeah, if you'd like to hear more, please do join us. And if any of you going to Johannesburg soon, please come visit at the court so you can see the building that is our work of art. And Chipape's artwork is currently on display there for you to see. But thanks so much for everybody for coming, and let's go straight to the film, if we can. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for sitting through the credits. I didn't want to interrupt the credits because I think they speak so beautifully to the story of the collection. The collection is made by so many hands and so many hearts who have come together to form this incredibly democratic collection that is seen through the lens of our Constitution. But all those people coming together to contribute to this collection would not have had a collection to contribute to if it hadn't been for Justice Albie Sachs and our special guest this evening, Justice Albie Sachs, who has travelled to Kimberley to join us tonight and to honor
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Mark, but it's so wonderful to see Yvonne there. I shouldn't be here today. It should have been Yvonne. She was completely improper, using special influence. She said Kimberley must be number one. If she did nothing else, and she did lots else, she put Khadasheri on the map in the Constitutional Court of South Africa. It was always in the back of her mind. When it came to the judgments, when it came to human rights, when it came to what it means to be a South African, she brought Khadasheri with her to the table in the Constitutional Court. And she brought a spirit that was unique. We had an amazing collection of judges. Chipapi was speaking about across class and color and age, gender. We had that on the court. Yvonne and I, we couldn't have been more different. We were like brother and sister. Yvonne's father, she told us, disappeared for 6 months. Just disappeared. Black men just disappeared. Maybe going to number 4 prison, where the court is today. My dad was locked up as a trade union leader with lawyers and later on employing Sydney Kentridge. I was told she was short. I could speak English, she could speak English and Setswana and other languages. She brought that into the court. I remember one day walking into the tea room and she was chatting to Dekha Mosaneki and they were speaking Setswana. I remember that when Kipapi opened the proceedings today, and I told them how wonderful it was to hear Setswana being spoken in our tea room. I'm beginning to feel I'm in a South African court. And she said, because Setswana is such a beautiful language, I said, I don't know. I don't speak it, but it's wonderful to hear the language spoken in the top court. It was wonderful to hear our proceedings opened in Setswana with people cheering. Art museums could be so boring, so solemn, so heavy. The pictures are still. Shh. Don't touch, don't make a sound, don't make a noise. And the curator made a noise, and the audience made a noise, and art became alive, and there was a spirit in this room that was wonderful. I was so proud to see how well the cameras Joan Tsitsi had captured her face, her voice, her humanity, her energy, her feeling. She was Justice Ubuntu on the Constitutional Court. Not just in her legal reasoning, and came into that. In her life, in her manner, her relationship with colleagues, in the way she addressed counsel with her questions, in the way she took part in discussions around the table. There wasn't a huge amount of laughter in our court. We were pretty serious people. But if you heard laughter from somewhere, you knew it would be from our sister Yvonne's chambers. There was a buoyant, positive spirit, and it came from her and from her energy. It was total accident that brought us together in relation to the Artworks Gallery. It was November 1994, so we had those marvelous first democratic elections. There's a new parliament, the same old building with slightly new occupants. There was the old union buildings for the presidency, slightly new occupants. We didn't have a constitutional court. That turned out to be wonderful. We could invent ourselves. Normally, if you take over an old building from the colonial apartheid times, if there are any images there, there'll be pictures of dead white male judges. One day I'm going to be a dead white male judge. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that's the only picture you see, it's saying only men mattered and only whites mattered. Even those little images, so banal, so ordinary, are unconstitutional, excluding the great majority of our people, even half of the privileged people. We had nothing. Not true, we had one chair. I know we had one chair because when Arthur Justison, the first head of the court, retired 12 years later, his secretary, Dorothy Fouché, said how terrifying it was sitting on the one chair the court had with a tall figure circling around firing questions at her before employing her. So we started with one chair. You saw that building. At our very first meeting, I remember it so vividly. I've been in exile in London for a long time, then in Mozambique, growing up in Mozambique, lost my arm in Mozambique. And now I'm coming back to South Africa, and I'm going to be on the Constitutional Court, and I'll go to a nice shop in Strand Street, selling things, tropical wear they call it, lights, nice poplin suit, and a sleeve cut off short, made specially for me. And I arrive at the meeting, and Ismail Mohammed says, Albie, that's not a suit for a judge to wear. I had odd ties. He never had a tie with any color in it, but most brilliant. But I'm mentioning that to how diverse we were in style, in background, visual appreciation. And we're sitting now on the borrowed chairs. And the first thing that Arthur Justison does is delegate tasks. Ishmael, will you do rules of court for this new court that's just been assembled? We didn't have a building, we didn't have rules, we just had a tiny thing called the Constitution of South Africa. We just had a tiny thing called the hopes of the whole country on democracy. We just had a tiny thing of 11 people who all fought against apartheid, resisted apartheid in different ways, with intense belief in importance that law could play, law that had been used to destroy the rights of people, to throw them out of their homes, to impose death sentences, pass laws, group areas act, race classification, marriages forbidden. Now the law could become an instrument, a weapon, a mechanism to enable people to express their dignity, to come together, to do the things that they've been prevented from doing before, and to do it all as equals, with human dignity at the core of everything. Kate O'Regan, Kate, is a thing called personal computers. Can you tell us what they are? And maybe one day we can use them. Polly Madala, you live in Mthatha. You're the closest to Grahamstown, where they've been making gowns for judges and bishops since the 1850s. Can you attend to the gown? Rory, can you build up a library? We have nothing. Everybody had tasks except for Albie and Yvonne. He had to find something for us. So he said, Yvonne, Albie, will you look after decor? And we're going to give you 10,000 rands. Can you see what you can do with 10,000 rands? You have to be mad. Not a little mad, big time mad. But our country was mad. Mad with hope. Mad with dreams. Mad with longing. The artists were mad. They had been displaying, painting, depicting the dogs of war. You'll see it around the corner from here, the Willie Bester. The people being oppressed in different ways. The butcher birds. Now there was a chance to display something in a court where the law is on the side of the people. But we didn't want poster art. We didn't want Amandlas. We didn't want spears. I said Amandla. We weren't against Amandla. But this wasn't an Amandla contest. This is outside of the ordinary politics of South Africa. This wasn't a space where you fought for power or articulated power, even power for the people. This is a place where you restrain power. The court was there to see that power was used for the benefit of the people, not to oppress the people. We wanted imagery, representation that could fit in with the rights in the Bill of Rights, not the power of the people in charge of the country, and not even their responsibilities, but the rights of the ordinary people, especially the people of the sharing. The picture we placed, the image we placed, right at the entrance to the court. The court was 2 office spaces with the wall knocked down, temporary accommodation, very low ceiling. Yvonne and I agreed we don't want wood panels that you get in so many courts. They're actually acoustically terrible. They represent containment. We had curtains. Normally there's a kind of government pale green. We didn't want government pale green or hospital green. We wanted lighter colors. We wanted to soften that space. It's a space of dialogue, a space of encounter, a space of ideas, a space of freedom. So we encouraged Public Works to create as homely an area as possible, a very small area for the temporary accommodation for the court there. What to do with our 10,000 rands? We went to a local gallery, saw that picture by Joseph Ndlovu showing humanity. It's here. It's here. It's one of the images we've got here. And Yvonne and I just felt, yes, yes, yes. That captures so much of what we believe in. The word Ubuntu wasn't used so much in those days. But for Yvonne, that was it. And it was just an oil painting. We had it enlarged and made into a tapestry. It was very wonderful. Marguerite Stevens had a team of African women who did the actual weaving. So that was our first acquisition. We got support from galleries. The Goodman Gallery had a wonderful collage by Willie Bester. And again, I mentioned there's the Willie Bester Dogs of War around the corner here. One of our great, great, great artists. And she said, I've got this picture, you might like it, I'll speak to the artist. And it showed 2 women speaking. Yes, yes, yes. We put that right at the entrance to the court. Anybody going to the court would see these women speaking. Willie grew up in a township. His mother was an African woman, his father from what we classified as a colored person. He'd known great hardship, self-taught. And that wisdom of ordinary people, that wisdom that actually was the foundation of a constitution that regards all human beings as equal, entitled to the same dignity, is conveyed in that conversation. Not clever lawyers. We were, and I like to believe those of us still alive still are, clever lawyers. Nothing wrong with having clever lawyers. But it wasn't cleverness. It was a sense of justice, of humanity, of heart, of right, of fairness, of people who'd been through excruciating problems and difficulties of poverty and racism and state oppression, continuing to believe in the possibilities of full humanity. And that's conveyed in that picture. So I could go on and on and on and on. There are about 10 of the artworks that are referred to in the film. If I had money and I had administration, I would give an award to the first person to spot the 10 artworks. But I don't have money. I don't have the administration. But I think if the time comes when this film can be shown, this was the very first showing in the world, even before in America. But Mary Ann wants it to be shown in film festivals all over the world, and also to be used for educational purposes. And the condition to be shown in a film festival isn't shown anywhere else. It must be released for festivals, so it's going to be delayed. But hopefully, I'm not sure, can somebody tell me how long is the exhibition going to be here?
A month and a week. 1 month and 1 week.
Okay, it won't be in time for that. So it'll have to come back here. It'll have to come back at some stage. The film will have to be shown, and then I'll dig into my pocket and find some money for the first person who can spot 10 pictures, images in the film that are in the exhibition here. Let me conclude with Aluta Continua. It's the theme of the film. I remember when the artwork was suggested to the Artworks Committee, it's Yvonne and myself, I thought, I can't. It's too in your face, it's too political, it's too struggle-oriented. It is ironic, I'm Mr. Struggle on the court. Grown up in Mozambique, solitary confinement in South Africa, political figure on NEC of the ANC, and working with Oliver Tambo, code of conduct in the liberation struggle. And I'm the one saying, no, it's too political. The others outvoted me. And that's the way history kind of works, that it's now so obviously the right thing. It's the right thing because it shows the continuity of our ideals, but also it's highlighting we still have huge problems in South Africa. We brought down the system of apartheid as a system. That was a huge victory, and no one can take that away from us. But still, millions and millions of our people are living in conditions that are totally unsustainable. Bad things are happening, wrong things are happening. We know about it partly because the Constitution provides for freedom of expression organization. And Aluta Continua means the work of the Constitution continues, and the work of the artists continues, and the work of the judges continue, and the work of the Humphreys Art Gallery continues. I happened to be in Lisbon in 1974. The progressive army officers had overthrown the dictatorship, a fascist dictatorship in Portugal. That fascist dictatorship had tried to hold on to Mozambique and Angola as colonies. And the soldiers who went out there to fight said, why are we fighting? Why are we killing our African brothers and sisters so that the dictators can stay? And they rose up against the dictatorship. And they brought down the dictatorship. And there was a huge concert to celebrate that. 70,000 people in Lisbon, and I was there. And a certain Miriam Makeba comes up onto the platform. Mozambique, Aluta Continua, Aluta Continua, Continua. And 70,000 people were singing, Mozambique, Aluta Continua, Aluta Continua, Aluta Continua. And that had reverberations. Mozambique became independent. The students in this country were saying, here it would be Aluta Continua. You can always tell those of us who were in Mozambique, we say Continua. Others say Aluta Continua. So it became part and parcel of our struggle. And years later, a South African artist went to Brazil, and he made that neon sign, Aluta Continua, offered it to the court. It's up in the court, and now it's not neon anymore. It's being done in a much more friendly, environmentally friendly way, but it's going to continue. My last words are to Humphreys Art Gallery. This is a terrific gallery. It's well looked after. It's respected by the people who work here. You feel it. I judge lots of buildings by their toilets. And it passes the toilet test. But more than that, it's got very rich artwork. It's got thinking people. And you've got a great new curator. He stands up, he speaks with such fluency, whether it's in Setswana, whether it's in English. And now I'm hoping that you take the next step. Make it less solemn, less shh. Don't make a noise. More valiant. With music, with sound, with lights. We're living in a digital age now. Artists are working in that area. It's not to take away from the solemnity, the intensity of these beautifully crafted, intense pieces of sculpture and paintings and graphic work. They ultimately are priceless. They're beyond anything. But to get young people wanting to come here because they feel I don't have to have good manners when I go there. I can be myself. I can enjoy myself. I can express myself. It'll be great now if this tremendous space that's got so many strengths going for it could take that next step forward. So that's another Aluta that can Continua. Tomorrow I'll have the joy of, and the sadness of visiting the North Cape High Court, where I'll speak about my sister Yvonne as a judge, not as the art person. I'll do a walk around with the family and with people from the establishment here. I'll be able to tell lots of stories. Every single art piece has a story behind it. And it's a story of people with conscience, of people with passion, commitment, artists in the fine sense of the word, of the word. So you have a treasure now that's come from Constitution Hill to Kimberley. May you appreciate that treasure. May you make a lot of noise when you go there. May there be music to accompany it. May it be open at least some nights. In Cape Town, Thursday night is museum night, open all the museums everywhere, with music, maybe with some lights on the walls and so on. May the struggle continue, may the vision continue, may the madness continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chapati. Okay.
I brought some books here. Art and Justice. Do you remember this image you saw in the film? Tumili Feni, the greatest artist I've known. And I include people like William Kentridge, who's got a world prestige, and he was about to come back from exile. He went to Tower Records in New York to buy, in those days, discs with the thing, and he dropped dead. He never came back to free South Africa. He never met his daughter, who was born after he left to go into exile. And working with his daughter, we found some old works of his in a foundry, and we had them enlarged, sent here. It's another whole story. It's now outside the front doors of the court. And there's a beautiful picture of Yvonne Makhanda in her chambers in this book. So I don't know if the Humphrey Gallery has a copy yet, but this will be a signed copy in honor of Yvonne Makhanda.
Great, thank you.
Then, just to prove that I was mad before I came back to South Africa, I spent 11 years in Mozambique. I got my courage back in Mozambique. I was back in Africa. I learned so much. When I was in London for 11 years, I gained a huge amount of knowledge. I did a PhD. I had books published. I was on the first BBC 2 television news program. It was tremendous. I met freedom fighters from all over the world. But in England, and I had great friends there, even when I was happy, I was unhappy. When I go to Mozambique, I found even when I was unhappy, I was happy. I was back in my continent with our problems and our issues. And at that stage, they spoke about the Revolução Mozambicana, the Mozambican Revolution. It wasn't just independence, it was a revolution to transform the country completely, and the artists played a huge role. And every institution had its own choral and theatre group. The William Humphreys Art Gallery would have had a choral group that would have been singing at the beginning and doing other things. More artists made a living in Mozambique just from the art than artists were making in South Africa. All artists here had to be teachers and somewhere else. And to say thank you for Mozambique, to receiving me and other refugees from South Africa, for helping us in our struggle, I produced this book on the murals of Maputo. And it's in English. I've got 2 copies here in English. So one will be for the gallery library, and one will be for sale as a prototype. We've got more copies in Cape Town, and we'd love to let you have them at very reasonable price. It's not a money-making thing, it's to tell the story of artists in Mozambique, like Malangatana, Shisano, and others. So that's over to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Chief Justice. Justice. Can we all give him a round of applause? It is not every day that people can get opportunity to be in the same room with Justice Albie Sachs. So we would like to thank you for making time, and we'd like to thank the Concord Art Trust for bringing the exhibition here and making sure that they bring you along so that you tell us the genesis of this important art collection. And it is my belief that Concord Art Collection is one of the most important art collections in South Africa, open to public and free to go and see the collection. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate your wonderful words of wisdom of joining us through the beginning of this incredible journey of collecting artworks from the South African artists and have them represented in the highest court on the land. It is a great privilege for artists also to say that they have their works in a public collection that is a constitutional court. So I want to also thank the team here at William Humphreys Art Gallery. They have been working so hard from last week, and I am very proud of them because they understood that the task does not belong to one individual who sort of facilitated the collection to be here. So each one of them, they have put in their lot to make sure that we enjoy the exhibition that is up now. And I understand, I'll just mention their names because there are not so many, we are less than 20. So I want to thank my curatorial assistant, Makhanda, who joined us early June, and she has been phenomenal. She has made my responsibilities or my work handleable. So thank you so much, Malika. I would like to also thank Hester Mari, who is gone. She just left. She has been also amazing from the curatorial team. She is the principal curator of our public programs and education. And I also want to thank Tate Lazarus, who is our collection technician, who works so hard and puts all his energy and passion into making sure that the exhibition that end up being on the wall is appreciated by everyone who walks through the doors of this museum. And I would like to thank Moses Sinyato as well, who also has been amazing. He's a technical guy who made sure that this mic that I'm holding, you are able to hear me. So thank you, Moses. And also Lazarus and Quest, who are also our guys who run the floor to make sure that we have everything sorted. And also would like to thank Tumelo Kenaleone, who are our finance people. So they make sure that whatever we dream of doing, at least they can help facilitate the possibility of achieving that. So we thank them for that. We also thank the HR team, Samantha, and we also thank Mpo. I'll call them their names and I will omit to mention what their responsibilities are, because it's part of what makes me look forward to coming to this organization every day. And I've been doing it throughout the year, and I still look forward to coming here because they exert and exude a wonderful energy that makes me to be proud of the space. And also our museum attendants in front office, Jonathan, Portia, Cariso, and Quest. They are incredible, incredible people. So my parting shot is to once again thank you all for being here. My vision and my goal is for you to know that this is your museum. And this museum, you can walk in here anytime during working hours. You can tell your family and friends about this museum. And I hope that you are loving what we are offering, and you coming through during our exhibitions inspires us to continue to work to make sure that our offerings are offerings that when you look at the invite, you want to be part of this community. And the last thing is that I just want to, because when you give a mic to an artist, it's a problem because they tell stories. So the last story that I want to relate, and it's directed to Justice Albie for the affirmation that he always had on me, even before I started working here, the support. So in 2016, when he was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Arts and Culture Trust of South Africa, it was the same night that I was awarded the Impact Award for Visual Artist or Visual Art of the Year. So we were sitting on the same table. I had seen his work while still in the village outside Polokwane. And I always love people who do incredible things, not for themselves, but for the benefit of the community that they live in. So he was my hero. He is still my hero. So I told him that I would like to invite you to my studio tomorrow to collect an artwork. Here is somebody who, he didn't know me, but he listened to me and he honored the offer that I had. So this was part of the program that I started in 2015, which is called the Honorary Artwork Legacy Prize, which in my own ambitiousness, when I started it, I saw it as an equivalent to Nobel Peace Prize. So I wanted to bestow this prize on him, and he agreed. The gala dinner for this awards happened Friday night. He agreed. He said, "What is your address? Give it to my wife, Vanessa." Can we also thank Vanessa, who always accompanies Justice. So I gave Vanessa my studio address, and the following day they were at the doorstep of my studio in Marshalltown. And I remember it was one of the best mornings, Saturday mornings of my life, and I gave them the artwork as a prize, and he gladly appreciated. So after a year, to cut the story short, we meet at OR Tambo. He was on his way to Australia. I was on my way to Washington, DC. And we met, we greeted each other. "Oh, Chipapi, great to see you." He said, "Great to see you, Justice." And he said to me these words, "You know, the artwork that you gave us, it sits in our bedroom or a door in the past." What?
It's in our living room.
Living room now.
First thing people see when they visit our home.
Yes, and he said to me, That artwork is one of the first things that I see in the morning, and I bow down as I go about doing my day. That for me was one of the greatest affirmations that kept me going. But he didn't end there. He continued and he said, Chipape, you are no longer a promising artist. You are a promised artist. Thank you so much.